Welcome to your call to adventure and to the forward momentum of mine. It's been way too long since I recorded something, and a lot has happened. Um, I am a part of a spiritual community called the Unified Collective. I learned about that from the Seeds of Self channel. Met some really great people there. It's a very supportive community. It's a great place for um, it's a great place for being able to test the waters, if you will, the uh, the ability, the notion of being your authentic self. Um, it's few and far between that there's any sort of criticism about you know people's personal truths. Um, as long as they're not impinging on other people's personal truths. Um, a lot of introspection and realizing that a major theme of my life, coming all the way back from my childhood, something that something that drives me, something that is really kind of an overarching theme of my life, and that's puzzles, puzzles and problem solving. And I just, even before I started to make this video today, was thinking of one time when my parents dumped like 5 or 6 different puzzles together, and I was able to put them together, was able to extract the pieces that belong to each individual puzzle. And I'm having to do that right now in a sense because there's so many different things that seem to be related to the phenomenon of awakening or ascension, as you would call it. You've got so first and foremost, there's the need to love and trust yourself. Okay? Then there is the spiritual aspect of it, if you want to call it that, that could involve things like channeling and angels and unconditional love. Then you've got a scientific side, which is quantum mechanics, wave particle theory, manifestation. Um, then you've got the non human intelligence aspect of this. And at some point, I think that they have to intersect. Um, our conditioning from the time that we're children, especially about religion, causes us to impose certain appearances and behaviors on things that probably exist but may not be in the form or vision that's been placed on them. Like, you have to be able to imagine also that when, like, if you're looking at scriptural texts like the Bible, um, possibly others. I mean, I have to reference the Bible. That's the only thing that I'm familiar with. I mean, unless you count the scriptures for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But they would talk about angels, they would talk about burning bushes, they would talk about things that they saw in the sky, and the only way that they could reference those things was based on their own life experience and the technology of the time. Um, So, it very well could be that they were describing things of alien origin. It could be, I mean, there's so many things that you could theorize. You could theorize that uh, an alien uh, civilization could have manipulated us if they were more advanced than we were. Obviously, if they were able to make their way from some far flung galaxy or even within the same solar system, they're obviously going to be more advanced than biblical civilization. I mean, it probably seems like I'm going all over the place here, but this is for me anyway, so it doesn't matter. Um, I'm having some difficulty because I resonate highly with the idea of unconditional love and it being a strong force. But I've been exposed to both channeling and to some scientific phenomenon. One of them being remote viewing, which is like a piece of the Gateway program that the CIA and military intelligence had and was eventually exposed to the public. And supposedly, the CIA and the military claimed that they had limited success with this, and they weren't even pursuing it anymore. Which we know how that goes when we've got programs that they say are no longer in force. But a part of that is something called remote viewing, which is very interesting in the way that it's performed. And I think that a lot of people might misunderstand how it works. And okay, so like there's one organization called Farsight that the the founder Courtney Brown claims that he had alien entities that surrounded and protected him from the time he was a child, uh, probably for this purpose of creating this organization uh, for remote viewing. And if anyone's watching this and wants to look into that more, they have a YouTube channel, Farsight, and then I think they have farsight.org. And then they've also got farsightprime.com, I think is what it is, where they have it's like a Netflix. Courtney describes it as a Netflix of remote viewing. I haven't looked at that yet, but it sounds interesting. But the thing that gets me is he talks about, okay, so he doesn't talk about souls, he talks about isbies. And basically, it's the idea that you continue to, the essence of who you are continues on after you drop your body, basically, when you die. It's a isby, it's a consciousness that never terminates. And he terms that there are good aliens or good ETs and there's bad ETs. And he has Q&A sometimes, and I saw a Q&A where someone was asking him about angels and light, and it seemed like he kind of uh, downplayed, or he, what can I think? Um, he basically said that the bad ETs could be imposters. They could put labels on themselves that the galactic channeling community uses, like the Galactic Federation of Light, the Pleiadian Council, the Ashtar Command, that they're bad entities that could manipulate people by using labels like this, and also to operate from the narrative of love and light, where Courtney says that the actual aliens that he is in contact with say that that's all garbage. The whole angels, the light, and so that's really kind of, I don't know, it's disconcerting because you've got these conflicting ideas, and somehow I'm trying to find the synthesis between these two ideas. I kind of look at it like, if you're looking at 3D reality, you've got the scientific community pitted against the spiritual community, and both are making assumptions about what the intentions of the other is, and motivations, their beliefs even. I think there's a lot of assumptions that are made. I don't know if this is a good segue, but there's another area that seems to, it goes into the idea of using substances. There is a man named Dan Goler who has had extensive experiences with DMT. And DMT is it's an abbreviation for a long chemical name for a compound that is found within our pineal gland, I think, and it plays a role in our dreams. But Dan has a channel called on YouTube called Dan Go Thoughts. But he apparently has made a discovery that's been corroborated by Chase Hughes, who is not really a nobody, along with just some random people. But what he's found is that in a certain state that is induced by DMT, when shining two lasers cross with each other, and there's probably more to it than this, but it's basically replicating the double slit experiment. But when they peer from a certain angle into these lasers that are projected on a surface, if they look at it the right way, eventually they start to see these characters. And it's not just within the 2D plane of where the laser is hitting. It's like the laser becomes a window, and they're looking through it, and they're seeing consistently, and this is the experience of everyone that has done this experiment. They see the digits 0 to 5, and then different characters that are not easily identifiable as to what they are, if they're alien, if they're some kind of machine language. But they're shifting, they're moving. They also see geometric shapes. And unfortunately, because of the nature of the experiment, it would be too easy for the scientific community to just discard this as, well, this is just a drug-induced phenomena. It's a hallucination. But the behavior okay, so there, the video that I watched of Chase Hughes having witnessed this, he talked about how the nature of a hallucination is that it doesn't stay the same. It doesn't keep the same shape. It seems to transform at some point. And also, if he's looking through this laser window, if you want to call it, and that laser window is moved up and down from the source, it doesn't create a new window. It doesn't create it. Well, okay, wait. It doesn't create a new experience. It's like it takes the character or the geometric object that he's looking at the time, and as the laser moves up, it's kind of like there's a column of letters or geometric objects above it. So there's actually a spatial kind of sense. It's not just a different set of characters. It's like an actual window. As it moves, there's a continuation of the characters that were being viewed before. So this is interesting, and obviously, if there could be a breakthrough here, like one of the things that I was kind of driven to wonder about is if there was some way that a characteristic of the traits or the characteristics of what is happening when they're using the DMT substance, or if there was a way to replicate it naturally within your body, it would be more palatable to the scientific community to consider the validity of this experiment or this discovery. So they're still trying to make breakthroughs there. But all this stuff is happening at one time. And on top of that, we still have the phenomenon of AI that's unfolding, and we've got a lot of turbulence in the outside world, in the political world, in the financial world, in the geopolitical climate and things that are going on. And it just all seems to be culminating almost too, like it's too orchestrated, it seems like. So I'm looking at that. We're trying to keep these videos somewhat bite-sized, so I'll mention one other thing, and that is that back in 2017, when I was still in the thick of being really deeply immersed in politics and what was going on in the world that way, and trying to find a solution to the dissatisfaction, the generalized dissatisfaction of U.S. citizens, and the way that our systems are so corrupted, and trying to fix that. For some reason, I had the need to deeply find out details about someone, and I don't know why it was, but I had to use one of those public record deep dive reporting software services, and I had to do a limited time subscription because I didn't want to, it wasn't an ongoing tool that I wanted to have, but I was able to use this to find the information I was looking for, but I still had time left in this period that it was active. So I was like going through all these different people from my past, trying to look them up, find out where they were, what they were doing, and so forth. And one of them was a girlfriend from back when I was 12 or 13 years old. And found out that she had a YouTube channel, and somehow I think when I looked up the YouTube channel, I noticed that there was some jewelry she was wearing. kind of seemed to indicate that she was into, white magic or spiritualism in some form, shape, or form. But I also think I might have looked at some of her videos and seen that she was more Trump oriented. And that would have turned me off immediately at the time, to where I wouldn't have wanted to pursue anything any further. But here recently, I have I've had the intuitive prompting to get in contact with her again, and I did this, and it's interesting because she has since transitioned from that point, even though it doesn't matter anymore to me, as I've turned my focus completely away from that area, because there's, as I've said before, where attention goes, intention or energy flows, and I'd rather channel that into being the love and the change I want to see in the world. So I would have completely overlooked that, but we've had some interesting discussions, and we're still not completely sure why now, why we're looking each other up. The best that I can come up with is that maybe this is an opportunity to hold up a mirror in front of each other, because we've had some similar hardships growing up, trying to reconcile with who we are. Um, Maybe a little bit why we've gone through some of the things we've gone through. So that's been kind of interesting and exciting, at least on a low level. So we have a kind of ongoing conversation, sometimes um, vocally, and sometimes just eh, messaging each other. Um, I think the messaging is a little bit more difficult for her for some reason, where it's more second nature for me, especially with a keyboard, since typing is one of my better skills. So, looking forward to what's coming of that. I keep saying that I'm going to post more frequently, and I think that it would be beneficial to me if I did that, but I always seem to be full of excuses as to why I don't do that. Whether it's, too late at night, or I've got other things to do, I don't have time, or whatever. But this is for me. Ultimately, this is for me, and if it helps someone else along their journey, I hope that the authenticity comes, and the uniqueness of experience comes through enough that I can, you know help to shine some light on their own adventure, their own journey, their own spirituality. I'm fumbling through it just like everybody else, I think, has to. Um, it's like being a baby again, and trying to find things that excite me, how to navigate, how to use spiritual limbs, to identify spiritual limbs. Uh, I was watching a video earlier. It was kind of funny and relatable, because I've seen it with my younger siblings. They're talking about how a baby will be fascinated with learning how to use a rattle. And at first, their motions are so uncoordinated that they're likely to smack themselves in the head with it. And I've seen that happen. And it's funny, but it's not, because it's painful to the baby when it happens. But yeah, they get over it. So anyway, I'm going to end it right there. Yep. Have a good night or good day, or whatever it is. And blessings and love and luck to you on your own spiritual journey. Bye.